Just a little bit about our consortium. The consortium that we're in, the Demonstrator Consortium, is made up of 3 separate schools, each one covering a different phase. So there's a primary school, there's a secondary and a special school as well. And that gives us a diverse makeup to our consortium, which means that we can offer a full range of support to all the primary, secondary and post-16 phases. And I'm hoping that we'll be able to give you a real life view on how EdTech can be used across the whole organisation. Can I just say at this point that if you would like to ask any conversations, that you do this by posting it in the conversation window at the side, and you can access this by hovering over the menu in the middle at the bottom and hitting the speech bubble, and you'll be able to post any questions in there. And what we will do is we will stop at points throughout the webinar to answer those questions that you may have. So thank you very much for that. And I know 1 or 2 of you have been on the webinars before. I'm just going to apologise slightly at this stage. There might be 1 or 2 aspects that we have covered before, but we hope that most of the content is new content that you can have a look at and take away to use. So in terms of a consortium, we've got the ability to offer a wide range of things. That's ranging from digital platforms that we're having a look at today with Teams, about how to harness EdTech for more remote and hybrid working. I think one big aspect as well is we can look at how we can keep children safe whilst using EdTech in this remote way. Because we have Highfurlong in there, we can not only offer support around the use of EdTech in mainstream education to support SEND pupils, but also to especially support support those with additional special educational needs. I think a big part at the moment is how we manage pupil and teacher wellbeing. So that's both for staff and for pupils as well, and supporting the CPD for teachers and the wider staff within school. And ultimately, to sort of hold this all together, it's about how you go about with your EdTech transformation strategy. Thank you for those of you who've just joined us late into the webinar. Could I ask, if you have joined late, that you go to mute and you turn your cameras off, please, at this stage? That'd be fantastic. Thank you very much. So carrying on, I thought it'd be prudent just to give you a little bit of an overview of Ribblesdale in terms of the EdTech journey and how Teams has fit in with this, and then we'll get on to specifics about how we use it. So in terms of Ribblesdale, a lot of you know what who Ribblesdale are, but some won't. We're a local authority 11 to 16 school. We've got a mixed backgrounds of about 1,300 pupils from a diverse and quite a wide area. We use Office 365 to support for teaching and learning across the whole school in terms of management functions and things like that. And we're in the position where we've got 1,000 of our pupils with a Windows 10 one-to-one device. What I would say at this point is that there are lots of things that you can do without being in the situation of one-to-one devices. So hopefully we'll be able to highlight those and how Teams can play a part. So in terms of EdTech to support teaching and learning, I think there are a few questions to ask yourselves, and ordinarily organisations would have a number of years to roll out their EdTech strategy, but unfortunately at this stage it's going to be done in a compressed way for a lot of people. But there are still lots of things to consider, and I think the order still matters. So EdTech is there to enhance what already goes on in the classroom and across school. It's not about throwing out everything you've ever done and starting from scratch. It's obviously there to support teaching and learning, and it's just another tool in the toolkit of every teacher. We all have them. There's different pedagogies, and it's there to support the pedagogy that we use in everyday life within the classroom, whether that's within school or, as it is at the moment, remotely working away from school. But it's not about starting from scratch. It's about enhancing and supporting what already happens. This next one's key. Staff must come before students, even in the time now where we are absolutely desperate to get students and pupils on board. We must make sure the staff are confident and competent in using it as much as possible before we roll out to the wider school. And obviously that will involve some form of CPD. And I've had numerous conversations over the past few weeks with schools and organisations who are looking about how that CPD works and how it can be delivered in a remote fashion. But please make sure, wherever possible, that staff are confident and go before the students and pupils. And I think then you've got a question is, which EdTech tools do I want to use? We are being bombarded at the moment as educators with a number of tools that are out there. And I would suggest that we stick with the ones that actually we already use. So I know a lot of you will use things like Kahoot and maybe Doddle. Some of you are probably using things like LBQ. And then maybe you start to look at using OneNote, and obviously you've all got an interest, and probably a lot of you are already starting to use Teams in terms of an EdTech tool. But you need to decide as an organisation, obviously with input from others around in other schools, as to which EdTech tools you think are important. And I think the question is, well, why should we bother? What is the point of EdTech? Well, we all know the point at the moment. But I think the word that comes to mind is that stickability. This is a fantastic opportunity for EdTech to sit there and play a more prominent role within all sorts of aspects of education beyond the situation we find ourselves in. But ultimately, we've got to consider the impact. Is that a positive impact? If not, do we need to review? Do we need to evaluate? Do we need to drop it? And it's like any other mechanism. But what I would say is, although it's difficult at the moment to sort of take a step back, do take a step back and consider what will be the long-term impact of implementing this aspect of EdTech within our school.
Why bother? Why should we start to use EdTech within an organisation within our school? And I think that more than anything, at this moment in time, we've probably now realised with our current climate just how important technology can be within schools, within education. It allows us to be flexible. It not just allows us to be flexible, but it allows us to be adaptive. It allows us to provide a means that students can connect in ways that they might not have been able to before. And generally now, when we start to think about transformation and how this has impacted education, it's impacted education massively. You know, we live in a time with tremendous educational potential. We have information at pupils and people's fingertips. And what we can do is we can use all of these educational tools that we have to be able to support our pupils and to support our staff into providing an education which is basically suitable for the 21st century. And this is something that we have to think about as we move forward. Okay, we can create more creative classroom environments. Just because it's on a virtual platform doesn't mean that it has to be any different. We can just think slightly differently, but we can start to create and share different things in different ways. We need to be able to teach our students the skills that they need for the 21st century. You know, a lot of the technology that we use within Ribblesdale is technology that will be used when they move on to future, into future jobs or to future education. And we're basically hoping or looking to provide them those skills to be able to move forward within a 21st century education and basically in that society. So we obviously always remember that, at the moment, our tomorrow's leaders are sitting within these classrooms. So we have to be able to give them the tools. And as a teacher, we generally like to allow pupils to be able to problem solve themselves. And with technology, we have a variety of different tools that we've never had at our disposal before. And this is something that we can now provide to a classroom or to our pupils to make sure that they can approach topics in new, innovative ways. Okay, we can provide time for teachers to be able to save themselves time. We can provide them with tools that, teachers never expected to have. And these are the things that hopefully I will now cover in this session as we move forward. So a couple of things that we've now got to think about is the modern student. Modern student's very different than certainly I was within school. We had Nokia phones at that time, and I think if you had a BlackBerry or another phone like that, it was classed as sort of state of the art. But the way that modern technology is now and how pupils integrate and act with it, it allows them to collaborate so much easier. They sometimes don't realize what they're doing is collaboration, because there are various apps that they will use now: Snapchat, Instagram, TikTok. We know that we are probably sitting with 30 pupils within our class who understand these types of technology, and basically they work and use them on a daily basis, and they are now used to this technology as they grow up. And we often have to wonder, how come society has changed so much where pupils have this technology within the classroom environment, and sometimes our classroom environments are a little bit behind. There's a saying that I've heard said before, is you could bring some of the greatest philosophers back into our current 21st century, the likes of Socrates or Einstein, and they would basically not recognize the world around them. Put them into a classroom and they would feel at home, because it hasn't changed in such a long time. And what we have now is we have these tools at our disposal where we can interact, where we can engage our pupils in ways that we've not been able to before. But we often have to, and we often ask the question, how do we engage boys within a classroom environment? We use technology, we use things that they understand, that they use within their own society, within their own group of friends. And by using the likes of those different bits and pieces that they have, we're able to connect to them in different ways, and hopefully engage them to be able to want to learn, to want to find out more. And that's such an important part at this moment in time. So we ask the question then is, well, how do I use technology within my classroom? And the simple answer to that is use it when it's correct. Use it when it's the right tool to use. A lot of the time, people can be swayed by, I would say it was the shiny effect. Something's new, something looks good. Oh, let's use it, let's bring it in. But in actual fact, it has a negative effect because it's not being used correctly. We should focus on the fact that we're teachers. We understand what works for our classroom and what works for our pupils. We understand what good pedagogy is. And if we can start to understand how technology can be used to support and enhance that, then that's how we can start to bring it within the classroom environment. And it all comes down to pragmatism, okay? Be practical. If it doesn't enhance your ability to be able to work within a classroom environment, or it doesn't support your pupils more, then maybe it's not the right thing that we should use. And quite simply, know the impact. Okay, that's something that us teachers we're so used to doing. We evaluate the impact that we have within that class, and that should not change for when we are using technology as well. And that's just something that's quite important. So next big steps. Okay, so I've got a couple of images and pictures here just to see how things have changed really. So I'm sure that when this started to come out around about 20 years ago, Friends reunited, and then it was taken over by Facebook as well. Nobody could have foreseen that 20 years ago. We have this as well, the likes of Blockbusters, a company that was massive. I spent most of my Friday nights there, I think, deciding or selecting a video to be able to take home, and now we basically binge watch series. We sit there, we can watch Netflix, and we get TV on demand. And relating to mobile phones, okay, we probably all have used or were connected to a BlackBerry at one time, where we used BBM, and now that sort of changed when Apple went off. The sort of the way of thinking is we can't really teach for now. We have to teach and provide pupils with the skills that they need to succeed in the future, because technology moves so quick. And I know that people generally say, "Oh, technology, it's something that's going to be big in education, in the future." It's not. It's big now. It's something that can have an impact. It's something that can make those changes, and that's what we need to look at. So, in today's session, okay, the live demonstration, the important part, okay, and what I'm going to do is, the idea here is to just show you a couple of quick wins, quick tips on how to use technology that you will have at your disposal more than likely to be able to support the pupils within your class or staff and teachers. So at this moment, I'm going to just take away the PowerPoint, and I'm going to start to show you a couple of little bits and pieces. Okay, so the first thing is, a lot of us now in a lot of schools will probably be using a Windows 10 device. Okay, now Windows 10 device has a really nice function that not a lot of people know about, and it's down here at the bottom. And it's called the Windows Ink Workspace. Now, sometimes, for whatever reason, that's turned off on a setting. To turn it on the setting, we simply just right-click on our bar, and you will see the Show Windows Ink Workspace button, which is just there. Okay, and as you can see, I've got it turned on. And the reason why is just a simple little function. It has several features. Okay, first of all, we have a sketch pad. We can click it, and it turns your device into a whiteboard. Okay, and if you are lucky enough to have a touchscreen device, you can also use that touchscreen device there as well, and it has the advantage of being able to save what you do, so you can share that to to different teachers or to your pupils via whichever methods or means that you do that. Because I know that a lot of people will still use, for example, like the Promethean software and things, which is extremely outdated at the moment, and that we can use this type of software to do basically the same thing, but it's actually free on your machine if you have that Windows 10 device. The other thing, as you might have spotted, is within this Ink Workspace we also have the screen sketch, and all that will do is take a sketch of your screen, which then allows you to highlight or add any bits and pieces on there that you might want to, and has the added advantage of some mathematical tools on there which you can use to support different things or different aspects there as well. And the way that you want to use that can be used in a very different way, because I have members of the PE department who are basically using the cameras, and they open up the cameras and then they take a screen sketch, so they can look at the technique of a pupil, for example, on a golf swing, or how they're kicking a football, and they can basically take a freeze frame of what's happening there at that time. And it doesn't have to, we don't have to go through the process of taking a photo, searching where that photo has gone. It can be done quick, fast, by using that Ink Workspace. A nice little handy tip there. Okay, now the next one that we're going to be looking at is basically looking at the Office 365 platform. Okay, so most schools will have or be signed up to the Office 365 platform. Now, just to sort of give you an idea, this is what the new version looks like. Depending on your tenancy, you still might have the old version, which has the logos up at the top. There's no difference. It's exactly the same. It's just sometimes Microsoft like to be able to change the documents for you. Okay, and sometimes people will say, okay, well, why are you using Office 365 version over the desktop version? A couple of reasons. First of all, it's device agnostic, which means pupils will be able to access it on any device that has access to the internet. The other major advantage is, once again, I do not have to worry about what version of Microsoft Word my pupils have, or Microsoft PowerPoint the pupils have. So there's no compatibility issues. They're basically using the same piece of software. And as a school, if you start to use this 365 platform, it cuts away a lot of them problems, a lot of them issues, and it just means that the students will be able to access all the resources that you as a teacher will be sending them, and you'll have the confidence knowing that is right and available for them there. Just one more thing about this as well is, just as a reminder, if your school has signed up to the Office 365 platform, you do have basically 5 download versions that you can download onto your computers, Apple Mac as well, or your own personal computers, that you can actually have that as a desktop version as well. And that's simply by just installing Office, and that's I believe 5 times for your devices. And that's attached to your username there. Okay, so what we're going to look at here is actually something which is extremely useful, and I would say this is more for accessibility. Okay, so at the moment I'm just going to load up a Microsoft Word document, so a plain document. I'm just going to click it, and I'm going to press new blank document here, and I've just done this here, and all I've done is copied and pasted this document, a piece of work off a subject content from me to be able to share with my pupils. Okay, now one of the things that we can do here is simply over here on the right hand side, we can use this share button. Okay, and what I can do here is I can press share, and then I can decide who to share this with. And with, you can do individual pupils by typing in their names, or as I do generally within our school, is I type in my class code. And when you type in that class code, we've a new different format there. When you type in that class code, I can quite simply select that, and what that will do is that will send it to all of the members of that actual team. And then what they will do there is they will be able to access this document. Something quite important to understand about this is this button here. Okay, so what I've done is I've clicked on anybody with a link, but allow editing. So this is something that we learned as a school. Okay, if you send this document as a shared document with that allowed editing on, all pupils will be working on the same document. So you will see 25 pupils, 30 pupils all trying to edit that document. Now, there might be cases where you want them to do that. I've never found a way as a teacher that I found that suitable, so I always allow that editing off, and then I apply that. So it basically gives them a read-only file that they can then have on their computer, or that they can have on their Office 365 platform that they can access when they need it. So that's a nice little handy tool there, just to making sure that you can share those documents to pupils to be able to support them just there. The next one is something that we've covered quite a lot in the past, which is basically the learning tools function. Now, the learning tools function is a fantastic tool which Microsoft offer all the way across their platforms. And the way that we can find that is actually within the Office 365 platform. And all I would need to do is to go to the view option. Okay, and as you can see, this is any document if you want to add anything more, and then we can select the Immersive Reader tool, which is just here. And if I select that Immersive Reader tool, what that will do is that will change any document that you want, okay, and it will place it within basically it will place it within a new view format that the pupils are able to edit for themselves. Now, the way that we use this is we found that differentiation for our classroom teachers was an awful long time. So we decided to train our pupils how to differentiate for themselves. So when we send out a document, we send one document out to the whole of the class, and then pupils will then be able to edit that document for their own needs. So for example, okay, we've got a couple of different options over here, and we can go to our text preferences, and we can basically decide on the style of font. So as you can see, the style of fonts here are for dyslexia, and if they want as well, they can also decide to change the color of the background as well to be able to suit their needs just here. And myself, I'm dyslexic myself, so I prefer a blue background. And then they can also, if they choose to, decide to change the font to whatever font they would require. Just as a note, this is individual for the pupil. They're changing their own file. They're not changing it for anybody else. So it also has that subtlety about it as well. If they do want to change a document, the teacher doesn't have to be, provide them with a printed out version with a yellow background on. It can be done by themselves on here as well. Has another couple of nice tools. So there is a play button. Okay.
In an algorithm for a guessing game, the computer generates a random number.
So it has that ability to be able to do text to speech for pupils. Once again, it's just any document. The document that I've got here is just my own that I've just copied and pasted it on. And a couple of other little bits and pieces that you might find useful are just over here on the right hand side. Okay, we have so as a computer scientist and from Liverpool, English isn't my strongest point, but so there are some quite nice handy tools here. So you can turn on the nouns, and it will highlight the nouns for the pupils in whichever colour they find more appropriate. And you have that same ability for the adjectives, verbs, adverbs, and you can turn them on and off, and they have the power to be able to do that as well. Okay, next thing to do with this is also syllables, maybe probably for pupils who would struggle more with actually accessing reading the material you're providing, but you can turn it on to be able to provide the syllables. Also a very good tool for primary schools as well. And then we can look at the reading preferences as well. Okay, so we can do a one-line focus. Okay, we can turn it to a three-line focus, and all that does is allow pupils to focus on one document as well, or one line of that document, should I say. And another really nice tool with this, if I just turn off these syllables, okay, is this picture dictionary. So you select a word, and if there is a picture associated with it, it will show that picture. Sometimes they're a little bit confusing to see, but it's extremely good for pupils. We know, for example, EAL students, okay, and all of those words can be clicked on, and there's an image there or a picture to be able to help them understand, to help with that dual coding. And that is extremely useful as well if you do have pupils with EAL, because what we can do is we can then decide on the language. As you can see, there are an awful lot of languages here, and we can select the language, and then we can simply just say by document, or we can do it by word, but I'll just do by document. And what you will notice is that we now have an original file, and we have a French file. And if I click on the words, okay, it will show you that word in French, also with English. But a really very good part of this is how our MFL department use it, is they use it for our pupils to be able to pronounce words in the correct way, because once again, it has that ability to listen back.
Aléatoire entre 1 et 10.
Okay.
Le joueur doit deviner le nombre et l'entrée, puis
So as you can see, you can change that document into a different language, and our MFL department use that to be able to support pronunciation. So a pupil will be able to simply click on the word, and once again, if you want to just hear that word, you can press the word.
Correct.
And it will tell you it within that language.
Correct.
And this is a tool that a lot of people are not quite sure about, but it actually is across the whole of the Microsoft 365 that they've actually got. It's in Microsoft Teams, okay, which I'll show a tiny bit of just at the end, as we have other webinars about that. But it's also within the next browser which I'm going to show you as well. Okay, so the other thing now is the Microsoft Edge browser. Oh, sorry, actually, I'll move on to the PowerPoint actually. Okay, so what I'll do is I'll just show you a little bit about a tool that not a lot of people also are aware of on PowerPoint as well. So if I just go to one of our slides, maybe one that we didn't quite hear at the start, okay. What PowerPoint does as well, it also has that translate function, okay, and it's on the review section. And if you want to be able to translate a section within PowerPoint, you can highlight the section and you can simply press this translate button, which is just here, and it's on that review section. And when you press translate, you get a dialog box over here on the right hand side, and it tells you for the options really. So for example, you can you have all of your English here, and then once again we can decide which language we would like to change this to. And when we do change it to that language, okay, it's quite handy because if you choose to, or if a pupil would like to, they can press the insert button and it will insert it onto this section as well. So it will replace the text that you've already got there. So it already remembers that English. Okay, and what we can do is once again, just let's see if we go, let's say French, and I insert, and just to show you how that works again. Okay, if I hover over each of the words, it's showing you which words they are on the English version, as you can see. Okay, and I've probably got a little bit too much text there, but underneath it then highlights the nouns. Once again, if you're hovering over a word, it tells you that that's a noun, and it gives you a little bit more information about that source of word. So it gives you different nouns, so you know, it gives you different ways to and basically different things to be able to support pupils within that classroom. And once again, it's all about those accessible tools, being able to ensure that all pupils within your classroom can access different bits and pieces, and be able to adapt it to the way that they want and they require. Okay, so just moving on now to the next section. It is this browser. Okay, now this is a brand new browser, which is called Microsoft Edge. Okay, and we're probably used to Edge, and we're probably used to it having the blue, like a lighter blue E on there to signify it, or that icon. What I would suggest is actually downloading the new version, which is this version here. Okay, and if you just type into the internet Microsoft Edge, you will be able to download that new version. And the reason why is, once again, it has all these accessibility tools. Okay, so I found it quite difficult to find a more upbeat or different type of news article to just show you. Okay, but what this does is it has this reading view on different web pages, and as you can see, it's called the Immersive Reader View. Again, we can simply select it. And what it's really, really good for is it gets rid of all of those adverts. It gets rid of all of those bits and pieces on there that can distract your pupils. So in actual fact, it doesn't just have to be used for, supporting pupils in accessibility needs. It also can get rid of any of the rubbish that will distract pupils on there, really, and just shows you the text and images that are associated to that story. And to get off that, once again, we can, just to show you, we can do your text preferences. Okay, you can change the color of the background, a lot more themes there. Okay, and once again, we can also
Neil Buchanan, former art attack.
Use the read aloud as well, and that's hopefully something that you may be able to use within your classrooms, or certainly inform your staff, your teachers, or your pupils about to be able to use as well. Now, the other reason why I would suggest that Microsoft, why to download the new Edge browser, is because of something that it has available within the Office 365 platform. So I'm not too sure if anybody is aware of Stream, but what Stream is basically the video editing or the video. It holds all of the videos that you record. So for example, myself recording today, it will automatically save it in this Stream. So as an organization, you can basically build up your own YouTube content channels, and I would suggest that this is extremely beneficial now, especially within this time when maybe a lot of schools are starting to look at pre-recorded content, just in case we have to go down into a local lockdown or the situation where a pupil might have to self-isolate or a teacher might have to self-isolate. By developing different channels within Stream. Okay, so for example, this is something that we've just started to do. But if you look at, so for example, my channel's just here. Okay, we have something which we call the Ribblesdale webinars. And these are all of the webinars that we've done within Ribblesdale High School to be able to support our staff with when they were working in the remote learning. And we have around about 16, I think, on here at the moment. And this is just the channel that staff will actually access to be able to know how to do different bits and pieces and the different software that we use. Now, that's how we've originally used it, but we've now seen the potential to build that up to be able to actually do a different channel for different subjects that we can share to pupils. And it's extremely simple to use, okay? Because if you simply want to create a channel, we simply do create, we can add to a channel, and then you can give it a name. So for example, I might decide that this is going to be my maths channel, and it can be accessed by anybody whose company-wide, and then now that gives you a folder to be able to save any videos that you might record as you work through, because as this is something we've just started to do in Ribblesdale, because when we first started to record our meetings, they were quite difficult to find. So now we're going through the process of having an assembly folder, a meetings folder, a maths folder, where we're going to then start putting different content in there that can be accessed so we can find it quite easily when we need it as well. And as well as that, you might have spotted this, because this is something which is once again only with the new Microsoft Edge, but on stream you will see record screen, and once again all good for this pre-recorded content, and it's extremely easy to use, because all we do for record screen is you simply press it. Unfortunately, it won't work as my camera is currently on speaking to yourselves, but it looks like this. And then all you would need to do is simply press record, and it works just like it shows in this image here. Okay, so it would have yourself or your camera on if you choose to have it on, because you can decide to turn it off if you want. And then it will also be recording what's on your screen if you want to record the desktop, or if you want to record a certain PowerPoint or something as you're talking over it. That is all built into the Microsoft 365 platform. And the one thing that I think is really important with this, it's ring fenced. Okay, now what I mean by that is anything that's created within the 365 platform can only at this moment in time be accessed by people who have access to your tenancy. So for example, when we do a lot of our internal webinars, they might have pupils' names on, or content that we can't share externally. And we know that when we create it and we put it within Stream, that only pupils and staff that have the ribblesdale.org details will be able to access that information. And that's a reason why we've decided to do it via Stream rather than any other popular types of software, the likes of Loom or the likes of obviously there's also YouTube as well, which we do use, but that is the reason why we've chosen to go down this route, because we are aware that it's safe, it's ring-faced, and it actually applies to all of the GDPR requirements that is needed. And that's super easy to use, that not a lot of people know that is there, which is just create and record screen. And as long as you have this new Microsoft Edge browser, it will record your screen and it will automatically save it within your stream. Just one important thing to note, which I do think is quite a handy thing, is when you use this record screen feature, it only allows for 15 minutes. Now that's probably good in terms of pre-recorded lessons, due to the fact that they generally say that after 15 minutes, pupils, staff tend to lose their interest, and that's why it's quite short, and it can be used to get those 15 minutes there. And that's something that might be looked at in terms of using, which is just there. Okay, now basically they were the new hints and tips that myself I had planned to actually go through yourselves with, as we've kind of looked at sort of Microsoft Office, Microsoft Teams, and we've got an awful lot of guides and tips out there for our participants or anybody who needs support. So if there are any questions or anything currently about anything I've currently mentioned, if you can please post it either in the chat, okay, or if you can come off speaker, if it doesn't allow you to post it in the chat and ask those questions, I'll be able to obviously answer it quite bespokely. So if there is anything you'd like to know about them at the moment, please let me know. Or if there is actually anything specific you would like me to answer, okay, that I've not mentioned in this session, please do ask about it, and that is something I can do quite bespoke. Okay. Okay, so can the videos be downloaded to use and edit? Yes, they can do. Okay, so when you have your stream within Stream, you can download those videos as well. You can also edit them within Stream. I would probably say that it's not the best editing system. There are plenty of other ones out there which probably make it a little bit easier to use. And that is something that I would probably suggest if you want to download it. So us as a consortium, we will download our stream videos, and then we will place them within YouTube, because we also want to be able to help support external organizations as well. So yes, that is something that we do as well within Microsoft. Okay, good question about learning tools. Okay, there are two things, okay, that are important to understand about the learning tools version. You would have to use the Office 365 version, which is the online version. So that's one of the reasons why we suggest to use 365 rather than the desktop version. Okay, if you do want the learning tools option on the desktop version, you would need to download it from that option which I showed just at the start, okay, which is just here. And if you install that Office there, that will give you the latest version, which will also include the learning tools option. And I suppose one of the big things that really is good about using that learning tool, or sorry, using 365, is that you are very confident that all your pupils have access to that as well. Okay. The next one that I would just suppose show you about is just sort of within Microsoft Teams as well. Okay, just to show you that if I just go to a webinars channel, this is our test channel, and I know that a lot of schools at the moment are investigating using Microsoft Teams. We do have a lot of videos on here at the moment, and also we've now linked with another consortium as well, who've produced a lot of Microsoft Teams guides, so I can also send them out in the link as well. But this also does have the immersive reader as well for pupils, and they can simply click the three little arrows. The three little dots, which is just up here on the top corner, and we can press this immersive reader button, which is just there. And when we press that, okay, once again, it's exactly the same. One of the things that the 365 platform does want is it wants to be inclusive, and that option is absolutely available in Minecraft. If anybody teaches with Minecraft, that's a session that we're going to do in the future. But also other pieces of software that are associated with Minecraft, the likes of Kahoot, associated with Teams, the likes of Kahoot has it, Wakelet uses it, Flipgrid uses it, and that's something that Microsoft are doing, is they are getting that software integrated more and more into all of these apps or tabs that they have, which they sort of can integrate with to make it easier for pupils to be able to access. Okay. Okay. Is there any more questions at this moment in time? Okay, can Microsoft Browser be accessed through Teams, or is there an app for the Mac? Okay, I believe the browser can probably be downloaded on Mac. I've got to be honest with you, Mac is not my strong point. I am firmly in using Microsoft Windows at this moment in time, so I would assume that you can download it, but I couldn't say that with certainty. But if it is downloadable within Mac, it will have all of the same features and functions as well. Okay, well, I suppose coming to the end of this session, it was a session which I sort of stated at the start. I do apologise that the time had to be changed due to unforeseen circumstances. Also, it was just myself on the call today, which is why we had probably an issue or two which I wasn't able to foresee until somebody very kindly came on and spoke to me. But what I will do is I will stitch this together with one of our old starters, which basically says exactly the same. So we caught the main contents of this, and I appreciate your participation. But if I just come to the end now, just to give a little bit more information about kind of what we should maybe think about with the next steps. Okay, so next steps, what should yourself or your schools be thinking about doing? Well, first of all, is if you do need support, please register with the EdTech Demonstrator program. I get a lot of questions about this. Is this free? This, yes, it's completely and utterly free. Okay, it's very rare to get something for free at the moment, especially within schools, but all of this support is being funded for by the government. And even if it isn't more about using technology for teaching, but you need the tech support, there is also tech support there free as well. And that all can be completed by filling in that demonstrator EdTech form. That's something that I will send out also with my follow-up email as well regarding this session. And also, I suppose one of the things is be creative when developing lessons. Don't be afraid to step out of that comfort zone. One of the things that I've realized now as I are a lot more involved in EdTech is generally not to worry about pupils. Pupils will pick it up extremely quickly. They are used to using technology in social environments in different ways to be creative. It's generally more teachers that are, I would say, concerned about their ability to use it within the classroom. And sometimes by stepping out of that comfort zone and trying something new, you will see just a positive impact that will have. One of the things that I would like to say is you don't have to be the expert on the software to use it within the classroom, because as a teacher you're the expert when it comes to teaching pedagogy. You understand the psychology, how you expect pupils to do it. You know the requirements of what a pupil needs to complete on those outcomes. And that's extremely important. We have English teachers who have no idea about using Minecraft to teach creative writing. And it helps pupils who would find it hard to articulate, to actually create a Minecraft world first and then be able to write about it afterwards. And it's been a way that our English teachers have been able to support those pupils. And the next part is basically to explore social media, become active members of the EdTech community and share ideas. Okay, that is such an important aspect. It's, there's a lot of people out there who know an awful lot and share and want to share those details. I know time is sometimes at the essence, and this is something we should have a little look at and maybe, involve yourself within those communities. And the last part is to sign up for that Microsoft Educator Centre, get support, and on there are support with all the software, all the Office 365 products that you might want. And it's extremely, an extremely great resource that you can use for yourself or within your teaching environments. And I would just like to finish there by saying thank you very much for joining the session today. Apologies for the technical issue at the start or the lack of me pressing the button, but I do appreciate somebody coming on and talking about it. And I will send this out on an email with a little bit of editing on there, just to be able to ensure that you have all of the content that you may require. And thank you very much, and have a good evening. And I do appreciate on these difficult times you finding the time to come onto this webinar. Thank you very much.